Sunshine Act. By participating in this meeting, you are consenting to the recording, retention, and future viewing of this meeting. Okay. And this meeting is also being live streamed as convenience to the public. In the event that the live stream fails or cannot be transmitted for any reason, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption. Carrie.
Brian Boyer.
Here.
Mary Brenneman. Here. Danielle Brenneman.
Here.
Stephen Yerger.
Here.
Carl Thompson.
Here.
Wayne Sullivan.
Here.
Janelle Ressler.
Here.
Jeannie Ewan.
Here.
Nick Lovell.
Here. Okay. This month is Diabetes Awareness, so those of us that remembered to wear blue are celebrating Diabetes Awareness. It is also our Patriots
Yeah.
for Veterans Day, sorry. We have a veteran to the right of me, and if I do believe a veteran to the left of me. Mr. Sullivan, I do believe you were in the Air Force, correct? And Brian Lawyer was in the Army, and you were in the Air Force. So thank you for you and your services. And at this time, would you
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
pause for a break because we're going to have Brennan give us some statistics about diabetes because it is a big
All right, so these statistics are mostly for Pennsylvania. So 11.3% of Pennsylvania adult population has been diagnosed with diabetes, and an additional 303,000 people have diabetes but are unaware of it. 34.1% of Pennsylvania adult population has pre-diabetes, meaning their blood glucose levels are higher than normal but not yet high enough to be diagnosed. An estimated 76,535 people in Pennsylvania are diagnosed with diabetes each year. And in Pennsylvania, excuse me, 10.6% of white adults have diabetes, 16.2% of black adults have diabetes, and 5.6% of Hispanics have diabetes. So quite large numbers.
I think Pennsylvania ranks in the top 5 of all the states.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any symptoms people should encourage people to go get checked out? Any symptoms that if people think they have, they should encourage them to go get checked?
So it's different for a lot of people, but increased thirst, increased urination, fatigue, feeling nauseous, frequently are a cause for concern typically to be checked.
get your glucose checked regularly. They're in that public announcement. Public comment. We now recognize members of the public who have signed up to provide comment as stipulated in policy 903. When your name is called, please approach the podium. State your name, confirm you're a resident or a taxpayer in the district and a topic of discussion for the record. Please direct your comments to the board as whole and not an individual. We will ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. The privilege to speak may be interrupted, revoked, or a recess of the meeting may be called by the chair if the speaker does not observe reasonable decorum or the conduct. Thank you. And Suzanne Johnson.
My name is Suzanne Johnson, and I'm a Littlestown resident, and my child attends school in this district. Here on Veterans Day, I'm speaking up for my parents and other veterans and seniors in this community that are facing increasing healthcare expenses, significant water and sewer rate increases, and constant school tax increases. When you passed the FY25 budget in June, Dr. Bell told the Gettysburg Times, quote, "We are almost to the penny on our revenues for the 2023-2024 school year, and it is plain to see we will come in several $1 million under budget on the expense side. So why did you say you had to raise taxes 1% this year to get $180,000 for ACTI when you knew that the district would have ample funds to cover that from the several $million-dollar surplus? I asked this question last week and by a follow-up email, but didn't get an answer. The administration and school board owe taxpayers a response to this very important question. When the FY24 budget was passed in June 2023, there was an expected $1.2 million deficit, and we were told that you needed to raise taxes 2.75% to cover operating expenses and put aside money for the middle school, high school project. The public may be surprised to hear that after raising their taxes last year and projecting a deficit, now miraculously, there's actually an FY24 budget surplus of nearly $3.75 million. The meeting documents show that your plans are to allocate $3.2 million to capital projects, which includes plans such as the proposed $684,000 for the softball and baseball fields. In addition, you plan to put $600,000 in a new transportation fund for a 5-year plan to replace buses and vans. Why aren't you planning to allocate any of the budget surplus to the ACTI project? If you were to allocate just $500,000 less to the capital reserve fund and assign it to that ACTI project instead, then along with the $180,000 expected from the tax increase, there would be a total of $680,000 for this essential investment in our students' future. This would be similar to how you allocated prior budget surpluses and tax increases to secure funding for the middle school, high school building project. Setting aside $680,000 for the ACTI investment will put it in the same ballpark as the $684,000 you're requesting for athletic fields and $600,000 for buses and vans. In terms of priorities, you should at least put those on a level playing field. I've never seen budget practices like you have here in this school district. Despite projecting deficits when creating your budgets, there's actually a history of budget surpluses. As discussed, there's a $3.7 million budget surplus for FY24, and there was a $4.1 million surplus for FY23. So in my opinion, it appears that you tell us there will be a deficit when creating the budget to justify raising taxes so that there will actually be a surplus to put into capital reserves in order to fund additional spending on district infrastructure. When I asked about this last week, the response from the administration and school board leadership was that this ensures future needs are met while managing fiscal responsibility. Why doesn't the district build a balanced budget, as other local government agencies do, that includes specifying a budgeted amount for infrastructure to be more transparent instead of shuffling money around after the fact? It is the school board's responsibility to hold the administration accountable for being more transparent and fiscally responsible, and in my opinion, you are failing. Tonight there will be further discussion of the food service fund, which is supposed to be nonprofit. However, the FY24 food service net proceeds were nearly $385,000. The beginning balance was $710,000. The ending balance was $710,000, and the starting balance was $325,000 after the previous year's spend down plan. When I asked about the significant proceeds, the response from the administration and school board leadership was that this was mostly from pandemic funding, which ended in October 2023. However, there are actually higher state and federal subsidies budgeted for the FY25 food service fund than there were for the prior year. So it seems that it wasn't actually the subsidies, but rather the sale of a la carte items that led to large proceeds. Unlike the overall FY24 budget surplus, the nearly $385,000 food service net proceeds were not generated from all taxpayers, but rather only the parents who are also taxpayers. I don't know if meal prices could be reduced now or would need to be considered for next year. However, why don't you immediately reduce the prices and number of choices for a la carte items to reduce the creation of this large surplus again? Next year, the terms end for 4 of the school board members that voted for this year's unnecessary tax increase, as well as the newly appointed replacement for last month's resignation. I pray voters are better informed and elect people that will actually bring positive change to improve fiscal responsibility, increase transparency, and improve student outcomes for our district.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Moran, you're up.
Lisa. All right, so it's really my privilege, it's a great privilege here to recognize Ms. Lisa Thompson for her efforts and commitment to Alvin Creek Elementary School, highlighting her as our employee spotlight. City motto is never in Lisa's vocabulary, as she is always willing to help someone out in need, whether it's a student, staff member, or member of our community. Lisa goes above and beyond with anything and everything she is asked to do. Lisa is a model for consistency as she goes into our classrooms to sub and provide additional support to our teachers on a daily basis. Other areas that she supports: planning and preparation of teacher lessons in her various roles over the last few years, supporting our behavior classrooms, and working with their teachers and staff, office support with our secretaries, communication with our families, participation in parent-teacher conferences, supporting IEPs for identified students based on their needs and goals, participation with professional development opportunities and training that our teachers receive, such as letters, iReady, so forth. She continually works on running of reports and data collection to help support our building. She works through our grade reporting for our report cards at Sapphire Systems, and really does a great job of collaborating with our school counselors and our administrative staff. With all these things said, you never hear Lisa complain when asked to do something, and she does it with a smile. Lisa makes sure to stay positive with her students, even when they are having a rough or a bad day or a hard day. Probably the one comment I like the most is this next one. Lisa really treats all of her students, all of our students, like they're her own sons or daughters. She possesses the character traits of being a friendly personality who gets along with everyone. Kids love her, and with that I can also say I love her. So really appreciative of everything that Lisa has done to support us at ACES and really across the district. When I was at the high school many years ago, Lisa was also involved up there and helping us up there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa.
I am very nervous because I'm much easier to talk to my peers. Plus, I've learned this, so. It's been a pleasure to work with this district. I love this district. I love the staff, the administration, the teachers are fabulous here. Everybody is willing to go above and beyond for a student, for a peer, anybody. I can't say enough about positive things about the district. Board, I want to thank you for all your hard work decisions you make, because I know they're tough. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I like my job. I love my job. And I'm very nervous talking.
You love Mr. Moran.
That's good. Joe,
I do
talk later.
everybody.
Yeah, I will tell you something, and I've never had this happen in my 30 years of education. Normally when you're in a situation where you're getting a substitute or a long-term situation, and we've had to do that twice now in 2 years, and we've had 0 complaints. No complaints from students, no complaints from colleagues, no complaints from parents, and that's unheard of. Over my 30 years, when you're in those types of situations, you usually get at least one, for sure, if not many. But in this particular situation, it's a testament to the work that she does.
Please don't.
So I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you, everybody.
Okay. Pardon me a second. You can leave, Lisa, because you don't want to stay here anyway, so go ahead. All right, so we've run into a couple hiccups for tonight's updates. We will not have, Brennan, hold on to your chairs. There will not be an update from Mr. Cheney this month. So I know you two are really looking for that, you're excited for it, but we had to withdraw.
I wanted to see where they were with the footers.
Okay, I think all the footers are in, I think we'll know next year. So we're gonna get a substitute for the athletic board. I think, you take over for that, Nate?
Yipper. Mrs. Young did provide me with some information that she was planning to share. She's just feeling ill. doesn't have to be here, ended up at the doctor today. So taking a look at some of the things that she sent to me. Obviously, we're between our sporting seasons here, so it's a lot of time for preparation as we head into the winter sports season. So we have the winter sports season launch, officially begins November 15th, with all teams prepared and ready to start practices at this point. All the rosters are being entered into the PIAA to ensure compliance and proper registration of all the athletes for that winter season. The parent meeting for winter sports was held on November 6th, covered the essential information regarding the expectations with the parents and some of the coaches giving out their information to them in that evening. Event staff sign-ups have been distributed to ensure the game help that needs to be there for operations, and winter schedules have been verified at this point. Transportation, as far as logistically, has been set up at this point. All transportation needs for the winter sports have been scheduled, ensuring the travel plans are set for the away games and meets that are going to take place throughout the winter. Ongoing evaluations are in place for the fall season. So as we look back on fall, the evaluations are occurring, provide feedback, recognize the growth taking place, and outline any supports or resources that need to be put in place for those folks that are the fall sports coaches. As winter sports are preparing for the season, they're still in need of junior high assistant wrestling coach is what I'm seeing here. Fall season achievements. So there were several of our fall athletes that earned spots on the YAIAA, always easy to say, all-star team, showcasing their outstanding performance, dedication, sportsmanship throughout the year. Recognition obviously reflects their hard work and support of the coaching staff and the athletic program as a whole. Finally, we have some goals listed for the season, pretty overarching goals of fostering a positive environment where the athletes and coaches can focus on growth, enjoyment, and simply representing the school community proudly throughout the winter season. That is essentially what was provided from Werner, again, against the transition into winter from our fall sports.
Does anybody have any questions concerning the Hearing none. Thank you. Dr. Fialski, you're up in a colorful outfit.
So today what I want to share with you, special education. So every December 1st, it's for special ed, it's a big time of year because we provide, the state has a December 1st child count. So what that means is we share with the state, everybody across the state, they want to, it's just a snapshot on the number of special education students we have in the district, according to the numbers, according to disability. So we're working on that this month. So I want to share with you those numbers. And this is the snapshot as of today. You know, kids coming in and out, so it changes. So last year, for 23-24, we had 236 special education students. Now that's all disability categories. This year we have 268. So it is an increase. Usually over the past probably 15 years since I've been in this role, the numbers kind of fluctuate. They go up 10, they go down 10, they go up 20, they go down. So it's not that they fluctuate like that. But this year, going up 30 is pretty big for us. And what I'm seeing is that we received a lot more students with autism this year and a lot more students with emotional disturbance were two of the areas of big increase of students coming into the district, or also students that we are identifying. We did have an increase in speech and language and also a specific learning disability, and that category is those students with a math, reading, or writing disability. So what does that mean for us? A couple things. One is that we are educating more students here in the district with these disabilities. Usually, you know, depending on the need of the student, I try to find what the best place for the student to be, because I want them to get the best education they can. Sometimes it's here in the district, sometimes it's out in another district. But what's happening is that with the IB closing classes and other districts having a lot more students, the opportunities aren't there for students who have some disabilities into specific classes. So we have to learn to educate them here. So we're learning as a district how to educate students with autism, how to educate students with emotional disabilities. So that's a big learning curve for us, as in the past, you know, we didn't have such a large influx. So, which means for us coming in the future is probably gonna be some professional development, working with teachers to understand, hey, how do we support our students here in the district? So I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's just the way it's going. Every district is, you know, in the same boat. Trying to find teachers for learning support, and you know, we all send kids to I have an opening, but we're kind of just stuck. Everybody's in a stalemate. Everybody's full, everybody's packed, and just trying to do the best we can for all our students. Are there any questions?
I have one to start off. What defines special ed? What makes
The students
John
with
Smith versus
disabilities
James
such
Smith?
as emotional disturbance, specific learning disability, autism, multiple disabilities, life skills, no diagnosis, hard of hearing,
So are they diagnosed by a doctor? Or
Pardon?
Are they diagnosed by a doctor?
These are educational diagnoses that school psychologists give, or, for example, if a student comes to us, a parent says, my child has autism. They got a diagnosis outside of school, which does happen. So what we do an educational evaluation. So we have to determine if that diagnosis is affecting their education. And if it is, then they qualify under specific criteria for the special education service.
I know the topic that Director Sullivan brought up was dyslexia. So that would have, and that's not something we provide, so that would have to come from an outside source.
No.
And would that not be a special ed nature?
Dyslexia falls under a reading disability. It's a category under a reading disability.
Okay.
So our school psychologists look at what is the reading disability? Is it phonemic awareness, whatever that is? And then they base off, if that's what the criteria is, then they'll look, okay, this is how we support that student with these strategies.
But it
Like
might
there
not-
isn't a dyslexia, one of the 13 categories,
Okay.
that's part of the
So
reading.
there's 13 categories that fall into that. Okay.
Yeah, it falls under a reading
Cool,
disability.
okay, well, that's, I'm sure that's gonna come up somewhere, so.
Specific learning disability.
Thank you for asking that, Carl. And I want to add, when you get into dyslexia, are we having any luck, let's just say luck, any, I don't know how to put it, are we able to move people that have dyslexia, are we able to move them forward? Do we have any resources?
Well, they're part of the Get Reading Intervention.
Okay,
So,
so they do.
yes,
Okay.
they're part of the reading intervention strategies that they get with the learning support teachers.
And on the autism scale, because I had a son who had autism, and he had to go to Kennedy Greer, and his autism is pretty, yeah.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with autism, and there's different levels, different spectrums, as you know. Are some of these parents coming into the district, are they under the understanding that their child will do well in this district, or are they under the understanding that maybe there's a specialized school they need to go to, or are they not at that level?
No, the new family moves in, a lot of times they'll give me a call and I'll talk to them and I'll say, these are the services that we can provide. How can we support your child? So I'll get that IEP and I'll look to see what kind of services they are getting, to see how we can do that here in the district, or do they need a more intense classroom? I'll see if I can find a more intense classroom.
Right.
It all depends on each student.
Because I know what I was dealing with was not something any district could handle.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking, it was very severe, and the behaviors were very severe. And I'm not saying that this is the case here, but I'm just curious because I worry about that. Because autism is something I'm seeing a lot more of.
Well, it's such a wide
It is
spectrum.
a wide spectrum, and that's why I asked you, because I don't want to get into the personal part of it, but you probably know some type of idea what their spectrum is.
Yeah, yeah, I get that information, and the school psychologist and I will talk with the parent and we'll say, this is what I can help, will this work? And sometimes we'll try it, and if it doesn't work, then we have to find another placement, more intensive.
Right, I'm just making sure their needs are getting met, and obviously, I'm sure you're working as
Right,
hard as
that's
you
why
can on it.
we have kids all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, the uptick in the numbers, is that because of new enrollments, or is that numbers that are put together because other districts are coming into positions that might be open?
No, so we've had a few more move in than usual this year, enrollments move in. We've also identified a few more this year. We've had a number of students coming in from preschool. There was a preschool program that came in the kindergarten this year. It varies every year.
So the evaluation starts at what grade level?
Some can start at preschool,
Oh, okay.
some start at preschool.
And then others,
Others
as it
start when they come
manifests
in,
and-
like they'll come into the district and, I don't know, say by second grade, because the teachers are watching what's going on. If they realize the student isn't making progress or growth, then they'll go through the process. They'll give them some interventions, some reading interventions. If they're still not making progress, we collect all this data then we say, okay, we need to move on to an evaluation, and then we evaluate.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Carol. Appreciate it.
You said that since we can't find outside placements for some of the students that we typically try to do that with, what types of staff members are now learning to?
So our learning support teachers, some learning support teachers in our intensive behavioral classroom, but then also some of these students will learn just regular ed, you know. So we have to help support them too on how do they work with these students, what kind of accommodations do we make, modifications do they make, so it's a learning curve, yes.
And you think that there will be some professional development for some of those
There will
regular
have to be.
teachers?
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions on this side of the table? Carol, thank you. Dr. Naylor?
Yes. We'll start with technology, specifically relating to the building project, the conversation planning today regarding the 100s hallway classrooms, removal of old technology for the phasing of that project, as well as new supplies to support the networking, cabling in the new section of the high school. A lot of equipment is owner provided, contractor installed, as well as network cabling to a patch panel that we then have to supply and install patch cables to the switches and everything. So getting that equipment prepared and ready to go when we get the green light to be able to go in and perform some of those different tasks that the technology department we're responsible for. Also in the area of technology, this week the tech team will be working with our vendor, Soft Choice, in a little professional development, what's called Security Center Investigations. So that's with the Google Admin Console. It's a tool to help tech administrators review activity logs, analyze any potential security threats that might be in place, and take action on those security incidents. So it's a good tool for us to help support cybersecurity and everything related to the network from a Google standpoint that we utilize, whether that's Gmail, Google Docs, Drive applications, and things of that nature. From the safety perspective, Safety Officer John Lawrence and myself have been working through our safety annexes, hazard annexes. One area that we're working through with the building administration as well as evacuation guidance. So a lot of us see in the news active shooter incidents where these incidents also involve an alarm being pulled or activated, and providing appropriate guidance to our faculty and staff to make sure we use our situational awareness to understand what is actually going on. So we talked a lot with our administrators about practice. Practice needs to be scheduled. Everybody needs to be aware of when practice is and on what day, so that we can be better informed as the adults in the building as well if an alarm would go off. As well as practicing without an alarm. We can all evacuate over the PA system. So it's using different tools in a different way to practice instead of always using an alarm. And you can imagine when an alarm goes off, a lot of us in the past would just jump up and evacuate. So there's a new type of thinking with regards to that. So John and I spoke with the Deputy Fire Commissioner of Pennsylvania about this and asking for guidance from the state level. They don't have any yet, they're working on it. But he didn't say, as a fire professional for over 30 years, when you hear an alarm, get up and leave. He said, use that situational awareness as the adult and leader of that classroom of students. Use your senses, and your professional judgment continues as you diagnose what may be occurring. So it's important that we as building administrators and faculty and staff understand that concept of situational awareness and be always thinking about what may be occurring instead of just following what you might hear from an alarm